Hey there. Tonight we're going back, way back, to the year Sambite Worshers BCE, to the misty bogs of northern Europe where survival wasn't guaranteed, and every dawn brought new danger. You are about to walk in the leather shoes of a man, a real man, who lived, breathed, fought, and ultimately met a fate so peculiar that his body would survive. Sambite years in near-perfect condition. His name has been lost to time, but archaeologists call him the Tollund Man. Before we begin, let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Are you tucked in bed or are you sneaking this video during a late shift? Either way, you're in the right place. So dim the lights, pull up that blanket, and let your mind drift backward through the centuries, past wars and empires, past the rise and fall of Rome, past iron and bronze, back to a world where gods walked among mortals and sacrifices were made in sacred waters. Tonight you won't just learn about history, you'll live it. You'll feel the cold bog mud between your toes, the weight of tribal politics on your shoulders, and the shadow of ritual death creeping closer with each passing season. Let's begin your final journey. You wake in darkness, the smell of smoke and damp earth filling your lungs. Your name is spoken only by those who know you. A simple farmer, a trader, perhaps a man of minor status in your tribal village. The year is Sambite Worshers BCE, and you live in what will one day be called Denmark. Though such names mean nothing to you now, your world is small, a cluster of wooden homes, fields carved from forest, and the endless, treacherous bog that surrounds your settlement like a moat of the gods. The morning is cold. Frost clings to the thatched roof above your head. You hear your wife stirring beside you, her breath visible in the frigid air. Outside, the settlement awakens slowly. Dogs bark, children cry, and somewhere a man shouts orders to gather wood for the communal fire. You are 35 years old, though you look older. Life here ages a man quickly. Your hands are calloused from working the fields, your back bent from years of labor, your face is weathered, marked by wind and sun, and your beard, still dark, still thick, frames a mouth that rarely smiles anymore. Not because you are unhappy, but because survival leaves little room for joy. This morning, like every morning, you must decide how to survive another day. The harvest was poor this year. The livestock are thin, and whispers travel through the village. Whispers of sacrifice, of appeasement, of the bog spirits who demand their due. You step outside, into the biting morning air. The settlement spreads before you. 20 houses, perhaps 30, clustered together for protection and warmth. Each structure is circular, made of woven branches and daubed with mud and clay. Smoke rises from holes in the thatched roofs, creating a low fog that hangs over the village like a shroud. The ground beneath your feet is hard with frost. Mud from yesterday's rain has frozen into ridges that crack under your weight. You walk carefully, avoiding the deeper ruts where water has pooled and frozen solid. Around you, other villagers emerge from their homes, bundled in furs and wool, their faces drawn and tired. The communal fire pit stands at the center of the settlement, a large circle of stones where flames are kept burning day and night. Several men already gather there, warming their hands and speaking in low voices. You recognize them, Bjorn, the blacksmith, a man twice your size with arms like tree trunks, Halvard, the elder, whose white beard reaches his chest, and Sten, a young warrior with more pride than sense. They look up as you approach, and their conversation stops. There is tension in the air. You feel it immediately. Something has happened. Something bad. Bjorn speaks first. The cattle are dead, he says flatly. All 3 of them. Found them this morning, stiff and cold. No wounds, no signs of illness. Just dead. Your stomach tightens. 3 cattle, nearly half the village's livestock. Without them, the winter will be even harder. Already you can see the mathematics of starvation. Fewer animals mean less milk, less meat, less fertilizer for next year's crops. Halvard clears his throat. The gods are angry, he says, his voice cracking with age. The bog demands payment. The day passes slowly, each hour heavy with unspoken fear. You work in the fields, though there is little to do this late in the season. The earth is hard, resistant to your wooden tools. You turn over soil that will lie fallow until spring, breaking up clods with a hoe that has seen better years. The work is mindless, repetitive, and it gives you too much time to think. Around midday, your wife brings you food, a small portion of barley porridge, lukewarm and unsalted. You eat without tasting it, your eyes fixed on the distant tree line where the bog begins. The wetlands are sacred ground, forbidden to most, except during ritual occasions. They stretch for miles, a maze of reed-choked pools, floating islands of moss, and bottomless mires that can swallow a man. Whole stories are told about the bog. Children are warned never to venture there alone. Sometimes, travelers passing through the territory go missing, and their bodies are found weeks later, perfectly preserved by the dark, acidic water. Some say the bog is a gateway to the underworld. Others claim it is the domain of ancient gods, who demand tribute in exchange for prosperity. You have never believed such tales, or rather, you have tried not to. But 3 dead cattle cannot be explained by bad luck alone, and Halvard's words echo in your mind. The bog demands payment. By afternoon, the entire village knows about the livestock. Rumors spread quickly in a place this small. Some blame witchcraft. Others point to a neighboring tribe, suggesting poison or curse. But most, like Halvard, believe the gods are responsible. And if the gods are angry, there is only one solution: sacrifice. That evening, Halvard calls a gathering. The entire village assembles around the communal fire as darkness falls. Torches are lit and placed in a circle, their flames dancing in the wind. The air smells of wood smoke, damp earth, and the faint metallic tang of approaching snow. You stand among the crowd, your wife at your side. She grips your arm tightly, her fingers digging into your flesh through the fabric of your tunic. She knows, as you do, what this gathering means. In times of crisis, famine, plague, drought, or unexplained death, the tribe looks to the old ways for answers, and the old ways demand blood. Halvard stands at the center of the circle, his white beard gleaming in the firelight. He raises his staff, a gnarled piece of oak topped with carved runes, and the crowd falls silent. The gods have spoken, he announces, his voice surprisingly strong for a man his age. They have taken our cattle as a warning. If we do not appease them, they will take more. Our crops will fail. Our children will starve. The bog will rise up and swallow us whole. A murmur runs through the crowd. Some nod in agreement. Others look frightened. A few, mostly the younger men, appear skeptical but say nothing. To challenge the elder in matters of religion is to invite disaster. Halvard continues, "We must offer a life to the bog spirits, a human life. Only then will the balance be restored." Your heart pounds in your chest. You have heard of such sacrifices before, stories passed down from older generations, but you have never witnessed one. You have never been present when a living person was chosen to die for the good of the tribe. Who will go? Someone asks from the crowd. Halvard does not answer the question immediately. Instead, he begins to speak of the old traditions, of how sacrifices were made in the time of his grandfather and his grandfather before him. He speaks of warriors who volunteered to enter the bog, believing their deaths would ensure victory in battle. He speaks of criminals who were offered to the water spirits as punishment and purification. He speaks of the chosen ones, those whom the gods mark through dreams or omens. The sacrifice must be willing, Halvard says, his eyes scanning the crowd, or chosen by the gods themselves through ritual. The crowd shifts uncomfortably. No one volunteers, no one wants to die, even for the good of the tribe. Then Halvard describes the ritual selection. 3 lengths of cord will be placed in a clay pot, 2 short, 1 long. Men of age and health will draw. The one who draws the long cord will be the chosen. It is fair, Halvard argues. It is the gods will made manifest through chance. Your blood runs cold. You are a man of age and health. You will have to draw. Your wife's grip on your arm becomes painful. No, she whispers, so quietly only you can hear. We'll leave. Tonight we'll go to the southern settlements. They'll never find us. But you know this is impossible. To flee would mark you as a coward, a blasphemer. Your family would be outcast. Your children, if you had them, would bear the shame forever. And worse, if the gods truly are angry, running will not save you. The bog extends for hundreds of miles. Its reach, some say, is infinite. Tomorrow at dawn, Halvard announces, all men between 20 and 40 years will gather at the edge of the bog. There we will conduct the ritual. There the gods will choose. You do not sleep that night. You lie beside your wife in the darkness, listening to her quiet sobbing. She buries her face in the furs to muffle the sound. But you hear it anyway. You want to comfort her, to promise that everything will be fine. But the words stick in your throat. How can you make promises when tomorrow you might draw the long cord? The mathematics are simple and cruel. Approximately 15 men in the village fall within the age range. Halvard specified. That means you have a 1 in 15 chance of being chosen. Or, to think of it another way, a 14 in 15 chance of survival. These should be favorable odds, but they don't feel favorable. They feel like the sword of a god hanging over your head by a thread. You think about your life, all 35 years of it. What have you accomplished? You have worked hard, certainly. You have been honest, mostly. You have never killed anyone, though you once came close during a border dispute with another tribe. You have honored the gods in your own quiet way, making offerings of grain and milk at the appropriate festivals. Has it been enough? You think about what comes after. If you are chosen, how will it happen? You have heard stories. Some say the sacrifice is strangled first, then placed in the bog to preserve the body for the gods. Others claim the victim is struck on the head, rendered unconscious before the water takes them. A few whisper of darker methods: ritual mutilation, slow drowning, days of suffering before the final release. Your hand moves unconsciously to your neck. The thought of a rope tightening around your throat makes you gag. You turn onto your side, drawing your knees up to your chest, like a child seeking the comfort of the womb. Dawn arrives too quickly. You rise before first light, moving like a man in a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. You dress slowly, pulling on your best tunic, the one your wife made 2 winters ago, dyed a deep russet color with roots and berries. If today is to be your last day alive, you will face it with what dignity you can muster. Your wife watches you from the sleeping mat. Her eyes are red and swollen from crying. She says nothing, but her silence is worse than any words. What is there to say? Good luck seems hollow. I love you feels like an ending. So she remains quiet, and you are grateful for it. Outside, the village is already stirring. Other men emerge from their homes, faces grim and set. You recognize most of them: Sten the young warrior, strutting with false confidence; Bjorn the blacksmith, massive and stoic; Ragnar the fisherman, his hands scarred from nets and hooks; others, whose names you know but whose families you have never been close to. 15 men in total, just as you calculated. 15 possible victims. Halvard waits at the edge of the settlement, near the path that leads to the bog. He holds the clay pot in his hands, its contents hidden. 3 chords, 2 short, 1 long. Simple. Fair. Terrible. The sun rises behind clouds, casting the world in gray light. No shadows, no warmth, just a flat, colorless morning that seems appropriate for what is to come. The wind picks up, carrying the smell of the bog, stagnant water, decomposing vegetation, rating vegetation, and something else, something older and stranger that has no name. Halvard nods to the assembled men. "It is time," he says simply, and you begin walking toward the bog. The path to the bog is narrow and uneven, winding through dense forest. Tree roots cross the trail like the fingers of giants, waiting to trip the unwary. Overhead branches form a canopy that blocks what little light the gray sky provides. The air grows colder as you walk, and damper. Your breath comes in thick clouds. No one speaks. The only sounds are footsteps, the rustle of clothing, and the occasional snap of a twig. Behind you, you sense the presence of the entire village following at a distance. This is a communal event, a sacred ritual. Everyone must witness. Everyone must know that the God's will has been done. After perhaps 20 minutes of walking, the forest begins to thin. The trees here are different, twisted, stunted things with bark that looks diseased. Their roots don't dig into soil, but spread horizontally across the surface, seeking purchase in the unstable ground. You have reached the edge of the bog. The wetland stretches before you, vast and unnerving. Pools of dark water reflect the gray sky like mirrors. Between them, islands of moss and grass appear solid but are treacherous. Step on them, and you might sink instantly, dragged down into the acidic muck below. Reed beds sway in the wind, making sounds like whispers. And everywhere, rising from the water, is the smell. Sharp, peaty, ancient. Halvard stops at a flat rock near the bog's edge. This is clearly a place used for rituals before. You can see the marks carved into the stone. Symbols you don't fully understand, but which speak of gods, dot, and sacrifice, and the thin boundary between life and death. Form a circle, Halvard commands, and the 15 men obey. You take your place, your back to the forest, your face toward the bog. Halvard places the clay pot on the ceremonial stone. He raises his staff and begins to chant in the old language. Words you recognize, but don't fully understand. The language of your grandparents, used now only for holy occasions. The syllables sound harsh, guttural, like the croaking of ravens or the creaking of ancient trees. The other men in the circle shift nervously. Sten, the young warrior, still maintains his confident stance. But you notice his hands are clenched into fists. Bjorn, the blacksmith, stares straight ahead, his face expressionless, but a muscle twitches in his jaw. Ragnar, the fisherman, openly weeps, tears streaming down his weathered face. You feel strangely detached, as if you are watching this scene from a great distance. Your body stands in the circle, but your mind floats somewhere else, perhaps already halfway to the afterlife, preparing for the journey it might soon take. You think about the stories of what comes after death. The warriors speak of a great hall where the brave feast forever. The older women whisper of a quiet place beneath the earth, where souls rest like seeds waiting for spring. Your wife believes the dead remain close to the living, invisible but present, watching over those they loved. You wonder which story is true, or if any of them are. Halvard finishes his chant and lowers his staff. He looks around the circle, meeting each man's eyes in turn. When his gaze reaches you, you feel as if he can see through your skin to the fear-soaked bones beneath. The gods will choose, Halvard says. One by one, you will approach and draw a cord from the pot. Do not reveal what you have drawn until all have chosen. Then together we will know the God's will. Halvard points to the first man, Sten the young warrior. The boy, for he is barely 20, steps forward with exaggerated confidence. He reaches into the clay pot without hesitation, his hand disappearing inside. A moment later, he withdraws a cord. He holds it up briefly, glances at it, then clutches it in his fist and returns to his place in the circle. His face reveals nothing, but you notice his chest rising and falling rapidly. Relief, or the pretense of courage masking terror? The second man steps forward. Then the third, one by one, each man approaches the pot, draws his cord, and returns to the circle. Some move quickly, eager to have it done. Others walk slowly, each step an ordeal. One man's hand shakes so badly he can barely reach into the pot. Another drops his cord and has to pick it up from the moss-covered ground. You watch each man trying to read the length of their cords by their reactions, but most are too skilled at hiding their emotions, or perhaps too numb with fear to show anything at all. The cords vary in thickness and color, some made from hemp, others from animal sinew. How will you know which is the long one? How will you know if you are chosen? Your turn approaches. Only 3 men remain before you. Your heart pounds so hard you can hear it in your ears, a drumbeat that drowns out all other sound. Your vision narrows until all you can see is the clay pot on the stone, its dark opening like a mouth waiting to swallow you. 2 men before you, 1 man before you. Halvard looks at you. You look down into the clay pot. In the dim morning light, you can barely see the cords inside, just dark shapes, coiled like sleeping snakes. 3 cords. One of them is death. One of them will send you into the cold embrace of the bog, where you will sink beneath dark water and remain for all eternity, your body preserved but your soul. Where do the sacrificed go? Your hand moves toward the pot. You don't consciously command it to move. It simply does, as if compelled by some force beyond your control. The gods choosing through you, Halvard would say. Fate manifesting itself in muscle and sinew. Your fingers touch the lip of the clay pot, cold, rough, ancient. How many men have stood here before you? How many have reached into this pot, drawn their cord, and learned their fate? Dozens? Hundreds? Have any of them volunteered, walked willingly into the bog with songs on their lips? Or have they all gone screaming, dragged by the strong arms of the tribe while children watched and learned that this is the price of survival? Your hand descends into the pot. Darkness surrounds your fingers. You feel the cords, rough hemp against your skin. How are you supposed to choose? Random chance, Halvard says. The gods will, but your fingers seem to have their own intelligence, moving among the cords, feeling their texture, their thickness, their length. Is this one longer or this one? They all feel the same in the darkness of the pot. Choose. You must choose. Your fingers close around a cord. You grip it tightly, feeling its roughness bite into your palm. For a moment you cannot move, cannot breathe, cannot think. Then, slowly, you withdraw your hand. You open your fist slightly, just enough to glimpse the cord you have drawn. It is rough hemp dyed a deep brown, coiled in your palm like a small dead thing. And it is, how long? You cannot tell, you have no reference. The other men have hidden their cords, clutching them in closed fists, or shoving them into pockets or belt pouches. You cannot compare, you cannot know, is this the long cord? Is this death? Your mind races. The cord in your hand seems to grow heavier with each passing second, as if it carries the weight of your entire future, or the lack of it. You try to remember if you felt other cords in the pot. Were they shorter, or was this the shortest, and the long cord remains inside, waiting for one of the men still to draw? You cannot remember. Panic has wiped your memory clean. You return to your place in the circle, your legs barely carrying you. You clutch the cord tightly, hiding it from view. Your heart continues its frantic pounding, and you feel dizzy, lightheaded. The ground beneath your feet seems unstable, as if you are already sinking into the bog. The remaining men draw their cords. Each one approaches the pot, reaches inside, withdraws their fate. One man, an older farmer named Tollund Man, actually laughs, a short, harsh bark of sound that makes everyone flinch. Relief. Hysteria? Impossible to know. Finally, the last man returns to the circle. 15 men, 15 cords. One of them long, one of them death. Halvard raises his staff again. Now he says, his voice carrying across the circle and into the watching forest. Reveal what you have drawn. Open your hands. Show the gods his choice. You force your eyes open around the circle. Men are opening their hands, revealing their cords. You see short lengths of hemp, mere spans, no longer than a hand's width. Relief floods their faces. Some actually smile. Others make small gestures of gratitude to the gods. They have been spared. One by one, the cords are revealed. Short, short, short. You still have not opened your hand. Neither have two other men. A young farmer named Erik, and surprisingly, Bjorn the blacksmith. 3 men still clutching their cords. 3 men who might hold death in their palms. Halvard's eyes move between the 3 of you. Open your hands, he commands again, his voice harder now, brooking no delay. Erik opens his hand first. Short. Relief makes his knees buckle, and he actually falls to the ground, gasping. 2 men remain. You and Bjorn. Bjorn, massive and powerful, a man who could snap you in half if he chose, stands across the circle from you. His hand is closed, his face unreadable. Your eyes meet his, and in that moment, you see your own terror reflected back at you. The great blacksmith who fears nothing and no one is afraid. The silence stretches. The entire village holds its breath. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls, a harsh, mocking sound. Halvard points his staff at Bjorn. The blacksmith, moving as if his hand is made of stone, slowly opens his fist. Short. The cord is short. Bjorn sags with relief, his eyes closing, his breath releasing in a great rush. And you understand. You understand before you even look. You understand before you open your hand. You understand because there is only one cord unaccounted for, and you are the one who holds it. You open your hand, the long cord lies across your palm, like a sentence of death. It is perhaps twice the length of the others, not dramatically longer, but unmistakably so. There can be no doubt. There can be no appeal. The gods have chosen. You have been selected. The circle breaks apart. Men back away from you, as if you carry a plague. They lower their eyes, unable or unwilling to meet your gaze. Some make religious gestures, signs against evil, prayers of gratitude that they were spared. No one speaks to you. No one offers comfort. You are already dead to them, already a ghost. Halvard approaches slowly, his staff tapping against the stone. He stops before you and places one wrinkled hand on your shoulder. The gesture might be meant as comfort, but it feels like a brand. The old man's eyes are sympathetic but firm. The gods have chosen, he says softly. For your ears alone, you must prepare yourself. The sacrifice will be performed at sunset. Until then, you may go where you wish, say your farewells, make your peace with the world. This is the God's mercy. Time to prepare your soul for its journey. You don't remember walking back to the village. One moment you are standing at the bog's edge. The next you are somehow back among the roundhouses, moving through the settlement like a phantom. People avoid you, stepping aside as you pass, their eyes downcast. Children are hurried into homes, doors closing with soft thuds that sound like nails being driven into coffins. Your wife finds you in the open space near the communal fire. She crashes into you, her arms wrapping around you with desperate strength, her face pressed against your chest. She sobs, great racking sounds that shake her entire body. You put your arms around her, but the gesture feels hollow. You are holding her, but you are not really here. Part of you is already sinking beneath the dark water of the bog. "We'll run," she gasps between sobs. "We'll leave now. They can't stop us. They can't." "They can," you say, your voice strange and flat. "And they will. And even if we escaped, where would we go? What village would take us, knowing what we've done? What gods would protect blasphemers?" She pulls back to look at your face. "I don't care about the gods," she says fiercely. "I care about you. I care about us." But you shake your head. Some part of you, the part that still functions, that still thinks, knows the truth. There is no escape from this. To run would be to condemn not just yourself, but everyone connected to you. Your wife would be outcast. Her family would be shamed. The village would suffer the god's wrath for allowing the chosen sacrifice to flee. The mathematics of survival are simple and brutal. One life or many. Your life or the lives of everyone you know. You have already made your choice. Or rather, it has been made for you. The hours pass in a strange blur. You sit with your wife in your roundhouse, holding her, letting her talk, sometimes responding, more often simply silent. She speaks of memories, your first meeting at a tribal gathering, the awkward courtship, the simple ceremony that bound you together. She speaks of seasons, the spring you built this house together, the winter you nearly starved but survived on stored grain and determination. She speaks of the future that will now never come, children you might have had, old age you might have reached together. You listen but do not speak much. What is there to say that you're afraid? She knows. That you don't want to die? Obvious that you love her? She knows that too. So you simply hold her and let the hours leak away like water through cupped hands. Around midday, Halvard comes to your door. He brings food, good food, better than you've eaten in months. Roasted meat, fresh bread, even a cup of mead, sweet and strong. The condemned man's meal. The final gift before the final act. You eat without tasting anything. Your wife refuses to eat, pushing the food away. Halvard watches you both with eyes that are sad but uncompromising. When you finish, he speaks. "It is time to prepare," he says. "There are rituals that must be performed. Your body must be cleansed. Your spirit must be readied for the journey. Come with me." You look at your wife. She grips your hand so tightly you think your bones might crack. Her eyes plead with you. "Don't go. Stay here. Let them come for you. Make them drag you to your death." But you gently pull your hand free. "I must," you say quietly. And you follow Halvard out into the gray afternoon, leaving your wife alone in the darkness of your home. Halvard leads you to a small structure at the edge of the village, a sweat house, used for purification rituals. Inside, stones have been heated until they glow red. Water sits in wooden buckets, ready to be poured over the stones to create steam. The air already shimmers with heat. "Remove your clothing," Halvard instructs. "You must be cleansed of the world before you enter the next." You obey mechanically, stripping off your russet tunic, your undergarments, your worn leather shoes. You stand naked in the semi-darkness, the heat from the stones washing over your skin. Halvard pours water over the rocks, and steam hisses upward, filling the small space with thick, choking humidity. The heat is intense, almost unbearable. Sweat pours from your body. Your lungs struggle to draw breath from the steam-thick air. Halvard chants in the old language, words you don't understand, prayers to gods whose names you've only heard whispered. The ritual lasts for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. When Halvard finally opens the door, letting in cool air, you stumble outside on unsteady legs. Women are waiting, old women past childbearing age, assigned to this grim task. They wash you with cold water from the stream. scrubbing your skin with rough cloths until you feel raw and exposed. They dress you in new clothing, not the worn, patched garments you've lived in for years, but fresh cloth, undyed and simple, a plain tunic, linen rather than wool, no belt, no shoes. The clothing of a corpse, you realize. The clothing you will wear into the bog. Around your neck, Halvard places a leather cord, thin and strong, like the one you drew from the pot. It's like the one that will end your life. The sun moves toward the western horizon. Though you cannot see it through the thick clouds, you know the time only by the quality of light. The gray growing darker, shadows lengthening, though they have no source. Sunset approaches. You are led back through the village toward the bog path. The entire tribe has assembled to witness. They line the route, silent and solemn. Some reach out to touch you as you pass, not with affection, but with a kind of reverence. You are no longer one of them. You are becoming something else, something sacred, something dead. Your wife is held back by strong hands. You see her struggling, trying to reach you, her face twisted with anguish. But the women hold her firmly. She cannot be allowed to interfere with what must be done. You look at her once, memorizing every detail of her face, then force yourself to look away. If you don't look away now, you never will. And that would make this harder for everyone. The path to the bog is lined with torches now, despite the remaining daylight. Their flames flicker and dance, creating shifting shadows that seem alive. The procession moves slowly, Halvard in front, staff in hand. Then a group of strong young men whose purpose you understand without being told. If you panic, if you try to run, they will hold you down. They will make sure the ritual is completed, but you will not run. You have accepted this. You have made your peace, or as much peace as any man can make with his own approaching death. Death. The trees close in around the path. The smell of the bog grows stronger, that distinctive scent of stagnant water and ancient decay. And beneath it, something else, the smell of death. Your death, approaching with each step you take. You reach the bog's edge as the last light fades from the sky. The ceremonial stone is surrounded by torches now, creating a circle of firelight against the gathering darkness. Beyond the light, the bog stretches away into blackness, an abyss of water and mud that seems to have no end. Halvard positions you on the stone. At the center of the circle, you stand where you stood this morning when you drew the long cord. Has it only been one day? It feels like a lifetime has passed since dawn. You have lived an entire existence in these few hours, from hope to terror to despair to acceptance. A complete arc of human experience, compressed into the span between sunrise and sunset. The villagers form a ring around the ceremonial area, their faces flickering in and out of visibility. As the torchlight dances, you recognize all of them, every face, every name. These are the people you have lived among, worked with, celebrated with, argued with, your tribe, your people, and now they have come to watch you die. Halvard raises his staff and begins the final chant. This one you recognize. The death prayer, sung at every funeral, spoken over every body before it is burned or buried or, in your case, given to the water. The words speak of journeys and passages, of doors opening and closing, of the thin veil between the living world and what lies beyond. Two of the young warriors step forward. One carries a length of rope. The other carries a wooden club, its head wrapped in leather. Your stomach clenches. This is how it will be done then. The rope around your neck, the club to your head, death by strangulation and blunt force. Ensuring you cannot struggle as you sink beneath the water, the first warrior approaches with the rope. You feel its roughness as he loops it around your neck, over the leather cord already there. He pulls it snug, not tight enough to strangle yet, but tight enough that you cannot forget its presence. The hemp scratches against your skin. You can smell it. earthy, fibrous, the smell of the fields you will never work again. The second warrior stands to your right, the club held loosely in his hands. His face is young, uncertain. You recognize him, Olaf, the blacksmith's son, barely 18 years old. He doesn't want to do this. You can see it in his eyes. But duty and religion and tribal law demand it. And so he will strike when commanded, no matter how his hands shake. Halvard finishes the death prayer and falls silent. For a long moment, nothing happens. The world holds its breath. The torches crackle. The bog whispers secrets in a language older than words. And you stand at the center of it all, teetering on the edge between life and death. Then Halvard speaks, his voice softer now, almost gentle. Have you any final words? Any prayer to the gods? Any message for those you leave behind? You open your mouth. You meant to say something profound, something that would be remembered, that would give meaning to this meaningless death. But the words that come out are simple and small. Tell my wife I loved her, you say. Your voice cracks on the word loved, breaking the past tense. Tell her I love her. Still, always, Halvard nods. It will be told, he promises. Then he raises his staff one final time and nods to the warriors. It is time. The club strikes the side of your head with shocking force. There is no pain at first, just impact like being kicked by a horse, and then a sensation of falling, though you are not sure if you're actually falling or if the world is falling around you. Colors explode behind your eyes, bright reds and golds that have no place in this dark night. Your knees hit the stone. When did you fall? You didn't notice the moment of descent. You are aware of hands grabbing you, holding you upright. The rope around your neck tightens suddenly, cutting off your air. You try to gasp but cannot. Your lungs burn. Your hands come up, clawing at the rope. Instinct overriding acceptance. Your body fighting for life, even as your mind knows it's over. The pressure is immense. Your throat collapses under the rope's grip. You cannot breathe, cannot scream, cannot do anything but claw uselessly at the hemp, cutting into your flesh. Your vision darkens at the edges, a black tunnel closing in. Through the narrowing circle of sight, you see torchlights spinning, faces watching with expressions you cannot read. Your struggles weaken. Your hands fall from the rope, too heavy to lift. Your body goes limp in the warrior's grip. The darkness at the edges of your vision spreads inward, swallowing everything. The torches, the faces, the bog, the world. You are aware of being moved, carried. You feel cold water on your feet, your legs, your waist. The bog, they are placing you in the bog. You try to struggle one last time, but your body doesn't respond. The water is everywhere now, cold, acidic, dark as death itself. Your last conscious thought is of your wife's face. Then the water closes over your head, and everything goes black. You are aware of nothing for a time that has no measure. Darkness, cold, the absence of sensation. Then, slowly, pieces of consciousness return. Not life. You are beyond life now, but awareness. You exist in a strange liminal space, neither fully dead nor completely gone. Perhaps this is what the ritual was meant to create. A sacrifice that remains, a body that endures as a gift to the gods. Your body rests in the bog water, held in its chemical embrace. The water is cold, acidic, preserving. It seeps into your flesh, your organs, your bones, changing you at a level invisible to the eye. The tannins in the water, leached from centuries of decomposed vegetation, begin their slow work, tanning your skin like leather, dyeing it the color of old wood. Above you, separated by mere feet of water, the world continues. The villagers leave the bog, taking their torches with them. The light fades. Night settles over the wetland like a blanket. Wind rustles the reeds. Small creatures move through the darkness, frogs, insects, birds preparing for sleep. You sink deeper into the mud, not quickly, but inexorably. The soft earth of the bog bottom accepting your weight, drawing you down into its depths. Your body settles at an angle, curled slightly, as if sleeping. The rope remains tight around your neck. Your hands rest near your face, fingers curled, preserving the last gesture of your struggle. Days pass. Weeks. The seasons turn. Snow falls on the bog in winter, melting into the water, adding to the depths. Spring brings rain and new growth. Summer sun warms the surface, but never penetrates to where you rest in perpetual cold. Autumn leaves fall into the water, decay, contribute their tannins to the preservative bath. Years pass, decades, centuries, and you remain. Time becomes meaningless in the bog. 1 century flows into the next, marked above the water by the rise and fall of nations, the march of empires, the evolution of languages and cultures. But below the surface, in the cold darkness, nothing changes. You remain as you were, a man from an age that slowly fades, from memory into legend into nothing. The village above the bog continues for a time. Generations are born, live, die. Your sacrifice is remembered, then forgotten, then becomes a vague story told to children. Eventually, even the stories stop. The village itself changes, grows, shrinks, is abandoned, is rebuilt by different people with different gods. The Roman Empire rises far to the south, its borders creeping northward. Legions march through lands not far from this bog, bringing new gods, new languages, new ways of death. But they never find this place. The bog keeps its secrets. Christianity spreads across Europe like slow fire, transforming everything it touches. The old gods are forgotten or demonized. The sacred bog becomes just a dangerous wetland to be avoided. No more sacrifices are made here. No more bodies sink into the preserving water. You are among the last, a final offering to gods no one remembers. The centuries roll on. Medieval kingdoms rise and fall. Plagues sweep the land. Wars rage. The bog remains, unchanged and unchanging, holding you in its cold embrace. 1,700 years pass. 1,800. 2,000 years. Above ground, the world transforms beyond anything imaginable to the people of your time. But you know nothing of this. You rest in timeless darkness, perfectly preserved, waiting to be found. And finally, in the year Worsers, of a calendar that didn't exist when you died, someone cuts peat from the bog, and a shovel strikes something that shouldn't be there. The peat in blocks, fuel for fires, a way to earn a modest living from the unforgiving land. The work is hard, wet, cold. They've done it 1,000 times. When the shovel strikes something soft, the younger brother pulls back, frowning. Peat should be uniform, dense. This is something else. He kneels down, pushing aside the dark earth with his hands. What he uncovers makes him fall backward with a shout, a face. A human face. Eyes closed, features intact, skin dark but unmistakably human. The rope around the neck is the first thing that registers. Then the realization this is a body. A body in the bog. His brother comes running. They both stare at what they've found. Their first thought is murder. Someone has been killed and buried here. They need to call the police. This is a crime scene. But as they carefully clear more peat away, revealing more of the body, strange details emerge. The clothing, what little remains, is wrong, too primitive, too old, and the preservation is extraordinary. Bodies don't look like this after being buried for days or weeks. This is something else. Within hours, police arrive, then archaeologists, then experts in bog preservation. Cameras flash. Measurements are taken. And finally, carefully, reverently, your body is lifted from the bog for the first time. In our Sambite years, The workers wrap you in cloth and place you in a wooden box. You are transported to a museum in the nearest town. And there, under bright electric lights that would have seemed like captured sunlight to you in life, scientists begin to study what you've become. The Tollund Man, they will call you. One of the most perfectly preserved human bodies ever discovered. Every measurement, every detail, every piece of evidence your body provides about life and death in the Iron Age. They photograph you from every angle. They x-ray your bones. They examine your stomach contents to learn what you ate for your last meal. What they find is remarkable. Your stomach contains the remains of a meal eaten perhaps 12 to 24 hours before your death. Porridge made from barley, flaxseed, and various wild plants. No meat, a simple peasant meal. The meal of a man who might have known his death was approaching, or perhaps just the ordinary food of an ordinary day that happened to be his last. They study the rope around your neck. It's made from 2 leather thongs twisted together, formed into a noose. They find evidence of hanging, the way your neck was broken, the compression of your throat, and they find the blow to your head, the fracture in your skull that would have stunned you before the strangulation completed its work. The rope troubles them. Why preserve it? Why keep the instrument of death with the body? Until they understand this isn't just a murder victim. This is something else, something ritual, something sacred. They carbon date samples of your tissue, your hair, the rope, the peat surrounding you. The results come back. You died around Sembai Oysters BCE, give or take a few decades, more than 2,000 years ago, before Christ walked the earth, before Rome ruled Europe. In the time of Celtic tribes and ancient gods and sacrifices to ensure the harvest, you are not a murder victim. You are a religious offering, a sacrifice to gods whose names are now lost to history. And you have endured, perfectly preserved, a message from the ancient world to the modern one. This is what we did. This is who we were. As scientists continue their research, the story of your death begins to emerge. They piece it together from evidence written in your bones, your skin, your last meal, the rope that killed you. You were a man in your 30s, healthy despite the hard life you lived. Your hands show evidence of manual labor, calluses, old injuries. Your teeth are worn but relatively healthy. You were not wealthy, but not starving either. An ordinary man from an ordinary Iron Age village. But your death was anything but ordinary. The combination of hanging, the careful preservation of the rope, the placement in the bog, all of this points to ritual sacrifice. You were chosen somehow to be offered to the gods. Perhaps you volunteered. Perhaps you were selected by lot. As some ancient texts describe, perhaps you were a criminal, though your stomach contents, a final meal that included seeds from many different plants, suggest a ritual meal rather than ordinary food. The most haunting detail is your expression. Your face, so perfectly preserved, shows no signs of struggle or terror. You look peaceful, almost serene, as if you accepted your death with grace. Did you believe you were ensuring the survival of your people? Did you think your sacrifice would bring good harvests, successful hunts, victory in war? Did you go willingly into the dark water, trusting that your death had meaning? Or were you simply terrified, and the bog's chemistry happened to preserve you in a moment of forced calm? The scientists cannot answer these questions. They can document your death, but not your thoughts. They can measure your bones, but not your beliefs. You remain a mystery, a perfectly preserved body containing secrets that can never be fully revealed. But they try to tell your story anyway, building a narrative from fragments of evidence. Honoring the man you were and the sacrifice you made, your face becomes iconic. Images of you appear in textbooks, documentaries, museums around the world. You become the face of the Iron Age, the human connection to a time otherwise known only through artifacts and ruins. Millions of people see your preserved features and wonder about the man you were, the life you lived, the death you died. Poets write about you. Artists paint you. Novelists imagine your story, giving you names, families, emotions, motivations. Some portray you as a willing martyr, walking into the bog with songs on your lips. Others imagine you as a victim, dragged screaming to your death. The truth lies somewhere between these extremes, unknowable, lost in the waters of time. Archaeologists debate the meaning of bog sacrifices. Were they punishments for crimes, offerings to ensure fertility, appeasement of angry gods? Each theory is supported by some evidence, contradicted by others. You and the other bog bodies, found across northern Europe, each with their own story, become evidence in academic arguments that span decades. But beyond the scholarly debates, something else happens. People feel connected to you. They look at your preserved face and see not an ancient corpse, but a fellow human being. They recognize in your features the universal human experiences: fear, hope, love, loss. You died in a world utterly different from the modern one, yet your humanity transcends that gulf of time. A famous Danish archaeologist writes, "The Tollund Man's face wears an expression of sublime calm, as if he understood the necessity of his sacrifice." Looking at him, we are confronted with our own mortality, our own capacity for both cruelty and devotion. And in the Ichen Julbaitirgers, new preservation techniques allow your body to be displayed more permanently. Your head is preserved separately, treated with special chemicals that maintain the bog's preservation without requiring constant submersion. Your body, unfortunately, deteriorates despite efforts to save it. Only photographs and casts remain of your full form, but your face endures. Your face continues to teach. Your face bridges the gap between the ancient world and the modern, reminding everyone who sees it that beneath all our technological advancement, we remain fundamentally human, capable of great violence and great sacrifice, seekers of meaning in an often meaningless world. Decades pass. The 18th century gives way to the 20th saint. Technology advances in ways that would seem like magic to you in life. Scientists can now analyze your DNA, trace your genetic ancestry, understand your health and diet in ways impossible when you were first discovered. New studies reveal more details. Your last meal is analyzed, again with modern techniques. They find not just barley and flaxseed, but traces of over 40 different plant species, a deliberate mixture, not random food. This was a ritual meal, carefully prepared, possibly designed to have symbolic or religious significance. You ate it knowing, perhaps, that it would be your last. They analyzed the rope more thoroughly. It was made specifically for the purpose, carefully crafted, ritually significant. This was not a murder weapon grabbed in haste, but an instrument prepared for sacred use. They study your bones, your teeth, your preserved organs. You were in good health when you died. No diseases, no infections, no signs of malnutrition or abuse. This supports the sacrifice theory. You were a suitable offering, healthy and whole, given to the gods in exchange for their favor. Most remarkably, they analyze your facial features using modern reconstruction techniques. They create images of what you look like in life. Not the dark, leathered face preserved by the bog, but the living man with pink skin, bright eyes, color in his cheeks. The images are striking. You look entirely ordinary and entirely human. You could be anyone, a neighbor, a coworker, a stranger passing on the street. This ordinariness is perhaps your greatest lesson. You were not special except in the way all humans are special. You were not a king or a hero or a villain. You were just a man who lived, loved, worked, and died in service to beliefs that seemed true to you and your people. And now, some years later, you teach millions about courage, sacrifice, belief, and the universal human experience. As the years continue to pass, your story becomes part of the cultural consciousness. You appear not just in academic journals, but in popular culture. Documentary filmmakers recreate your final days, actors portraying you in your village, trying to imagine the emotions, the rituals, the terrible calculus that led to your death in the bog. Writers and artists draw inspiration from you. A famous Irish poet writes a haunting poem describing your preserved face, comparing you to a saint, a martyr, a witness to humanity's capacity for violence. Cloaked in religious devotion, the poem becomes part of school curricula, introducing new generations to your story. Debates continue about the ethics of displaying your remains. Some argue that you should be reburied, that displaying a human body, even one Samba years old, is disrespectful. Others counter that you have become an invaluable educational resource, that millions have learned from you, been moved by you, connected across time through you. The museum decides to continue the display, but with increased sensitivity, emphasizing your humanity and the tragedy of your death, alongside the scientific value. Your village, lost to time, has been located through archaeological surveys. Modern scientists excavate the site, finding the foundations of roundhouses, traces of fields, evidence of the life you lived. They find the bog where you died, still there, after all these centuries, still dark and mysterious. A memorial is erected near the spot, a simple stone marker acknowledging the sacrifice made here long ago. Visitors come to stand at the bog's edge, looking out over the dark water, imagining that terrible night when you walked into the water and never returned. Some leave flowers, some stand in silence. Some offer prayers to gods both old and new, honoring a death that happened before their religions existed. You have become more than history. You have become memory, collective, universal, human. In the year Arten exactly Sambaywus's years after your death, a special exhibition is mounted. Bog bodies, sacrifice and memory brings together preserved bodies from bogs across northern Europe, from Ireland, England, Germany, and Denmark. And you are the centerpiece, the most famous, the best preserved. The exhibition draws record crowds. People wait in lines that stretch around the museum. They come to see you and the others, each body telling a similar story of sacrifice, each death a window in an ancient belief. But you remain the most striking, the most human, the most memorable. Your face greets visitors from posters, from catalog covers, from every piece of promotional material. Archaeologists give lectures explaining the ritual significance of bog sacrifices. Anthropologists discuss the role of human sacrifice in ancient societies. Historians place these deaths in context. A time when gods seemed real and immediate, when survival was uncertain, when sacrifice made sense in ways modern minds struggle to comprehend. But beyond the academic discussion, something emotional happens. Visitors report feeling connected to you, feeling the weight of your story. Many cry while viewing a preserved feat. Some say it changed their understanding of history, making it real and personal rather than abstract and distant. Teachers report that students who see you never forget. You make the ancient world real to them in ways textbooks cannot. One visitor writes in the museum's guest book, "Looking at the Tollund Man, I understood for the first time that history is not about dates and events, but not about people, real people who felt fear and love and hope just like us. His face haunts me. I will never forget him, and indeed no one who sees you forgets. You have become unforgettable, a face from the past that refuses to remain past, that insists on being present, on being remembered, on being human. The archery Saint century brings new technologies and new ethical considerations. Advanced DNA analysis reveals more about you than any previous generation could have imagined. Scientists map your entire genome, compare it to modern populations, trace your ancestral origins. They find you were part of the population that lived in Northern Europe during the Iron Age, genetically similar to modern Scandinavians, but with some differences that mark you as distinctly ancient. They analyze your microbiome, the bacteria that lived in your gut, learning about the Iron Age environment in ways that would have seemed impossible decades earlier. They study isotopes in your teeth, determining that you lived your entire life within a small radius of where you died. You were a local man, not a traveler, not a prisoner brought from elsewhere. This was your home, your people, your sacrifice. New imaging techniques allow scientists to create sandy models of your head without touching you. These models are used for research, for educational programs, for virtual reality experiences that allow people to meet you in a digital recreation of your world. Students in classrooms around the globe examine you remotely, learning about the Iron Age through your preserved features. But with each new technology comes new debates. How much should we study you? Is there a point at which scientific inquiry becomes exploitation? You cannot consent to these studies, cannot say whether you would approve of your body becoming an educational resource. Some indigenous groups and religious organizations argue that ancient human remains should be reburied with dignity, that the dead deserve rest regardless of their archaeological value. The museum holds forums and discussions. In the end, they decide to continue your display, but with increased emphasis on respectful interpretation. You are not a curiosity or a horror show attraction. You are a person, a man, a human being who deserves dignity, even in death. As we approach the present day, your story continues to evolve. Climate change threatens the bogs that preserved you and countless other archaeological treasures. Scientists work to excavate and preserve what they can before these ancient environments are lost forever. You become not just a window into the past, but a warning about the future, about what we might lose if we don't protect these fragile wetland ecosystems. Environmental activists cite your story in their campaigns to preserve bogs. You became preserved because of specific chemical conditions in the bog, conditions that took thousands of years to develop and can be destroyed in a single generation. Protecting bogs means protecting the possibility of future archaeological discoveries, future connections to our ancient past. Artists continue to find inspiration in you. A modern opera premieres, telling your story through music and drama. A graphic novel depicts your life and death, imagining the tribal politics and religious fervor that led to your sacrifice. Virtual reality experiences allow people to walk through your village, see your world, experience in sanitized form the ritual that ended your life. Philosophers use your story in discussions of mortality, meaning, and sacrifice. What does it mean to die for a cause? What makes it meaningful? Your sacrifice was for gods that no one worships anymore, for beliefs that seem alien to modern minds. Yet something about it resonates. The human need to find meaning in death, to believe that our ending serves some larger purpose. These remain universal. A bioethicist writes, "The Tollund Man forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. He likely died in terror for beliefs we now know were false, to appease gods that don't exist. Yet his willingness, or his community's willingness to sacrifice him, speaks to something deeply human, the need to believe our actions matter, that suffering has purpose, that death is not meaningless." In this present moment, more than 70 years after your discovery, You remain one of the most studied, most visited, and most recognized archaeological finds in the world. New generations continue to discover your story, each bringing their own interpretations and questions. Young people find you on social media, images of your preserved face shared with captions about mortality, ancient history, the strangeness of sacrifice. You become oddly a meme and a moment of genuine historical education simultaneously. Comments range from jokes to profound reflections on what it means to be human across time. Academic journals continue publishing studies about you and other bog bodies. Each paper adds small details to the picture: the precise composition of your last meal, the seasonal timing of your death, the social structures that made such sacrifices possible. The accumulation of knowledge is impressive, yet the central mystery remains. What were you thinking as you walked toward the bog? Were you afraid, resigned, believing, doubting? Museum curios. Visitors consistently report feeling an emotional connection to you that they don't feel with other ancient remains. Your preserved face is too human, too real, too present. You force people to confront the reality that ancient people were just people, not abstract historical figures, but individuals with thoughts and feelings as complex as anyone alive today. A recent visitor writes, "I came to the museum expecting to see a curiosity, an artifact, but looking at the Tollund Man's face, I felt like I was looking at a person who could be my neighbor, my co-worker, my friend. His death happened Sambite years ago, but in his face I see something timeless, the human capacity to endure, to hope, to make meaning even in the face of death. I won't forget him, and that perhaps is your greatest triumph. You are not forgotten. You refuse to be forgotten as your story reaches toward its conclusion, though your preservation continues. We must return to the question that haunts everyone who encounters you. Why? Why did you die? Why were you chosen? Why did your community believe that killing you would help them survive? Modern scholars offer theories. Agricultural societies facing crop failure turned to desperate measures. Celtic and Germanic tribes practiced human sacrifice in times of crisis, offering lives to ensure the gods' favor. The bog itself was sacred space, a liminal zone between the mortal world and the divine, making it the perfect place for such offerings. But beneath these academic explanations lies a more profound truth. Your community believed. They believed their actions mattered. They believed the gods listened. They believed sacrifice could change their fate. Whether these beliefs were true is irrelevant. They felt true, and that was enough. And you? Whether you volunteered or were chosen, whether you went willingly or in terror, you participated in a system of meaning that made sense to your world. You may have believed your death would save your people. You may have hoped your sacrifice would be remembered, honored, meaningful. In a way, you were right. Your death has been remembered. Your sacrifice continues to teach, but not in the way you or your community imagined. You don't teach about the power of ancient gods or the efficacy of human sacrifice. You teach something else, about the human need for meaning, about the lengths communities will go to survive, about the price of belief, about the universal experiences that connect all humans across time. You are a mirror reflecting humanity back to itself. Our capacity for violence and devotion, our search for meaning in a chaotic world, our willingness to sacrifice for beliefs that give structure to existence. And more than that, you are proof that we remember, we honor, we try to understand, even across our Sambit years, even across the gulf that separates your world from ours. We see you. We recognize you. We remember, so here you remain, at the end of our story and the continuation of yours. You lie in your preservation chamber in Denmark, in the museum that has cared for you for over 7 decades. Your peaceful face continues to greet visitors, continues to teach, continues to bridge the gap between the ancient world and the modern. What would you think if you could see what you've become? Would you be honored that millions have learned from your sacrifice? Or horrified that your death, meant to be sacred and private, has become public spectacle? Would you understand why modern people find meaning in your preserved face? Or would the entire context, museums, technology, a world where your gods are forgotten, be so alien as to be incomprehensible? We cannot know. You are beyond answering. But perhaps that's fitting. Your silence allows each viewer to find their own meaning in your story. You become what each person needs you to be. A victim, a martyr, a willing sacrifice, a tragic figure, a symbol of ancient belief, a reminder of mortality, a connection to the past. As we conclude this story, the sun sets over Denmark, as it has countless times since the night you died. The museum closes, lights dim, and you rest in darkness, as you did for our Sambit years in the bog, as you will through countless nights to come. But tomorrow the museum will open again. New visitors will come. Children will press their faces to the glass. Students will take notes. Tourists will snap photos. Artists will find inspiration, and everyone who sees you will carry away something. A lesson, a feeling, a memory, a question. You died in sacrifice. To gods no one remembers. But your death has achieved a kind of immortality those ancient gods never found. You are remembered. You are honored. You are, in your own quiet way, eternal. Rest well, Tollund Man. Your sacrifice is not forgotten. Your story continues. Your teaching never ends. So dim the lights one final time. Pull your blankets close. You've walked beside a man across Sambit years. You felt his fear, witnessed his sacrifice, and seen how death transformed him from an ordinary man into an eternal teacher. The Tollund Man sleeps in his museum, peaceful after all these centuries. And you can sleep too, safe in your modern world, grateful perhaps for the distance between his time and yours. Tomorrow awaits, as it always does, but tonight, rest easy. His story is told, his sacrifice remembered, and in remembering, we honor all who came before. Sleep well.